Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday Wham. Listen to that enthusiastic, very patriotic sounding intro. Wasn't that just heartwarming coming off of 4th of July weekend? Happy 250th anniversary to America.
Mm-hmm.
We're not perfect. Country's not perfect, but you are not going to find any place that's any better. We are the damn best country that's ever been on this planet. If anybody has something against that, you can come fight me, and then you could go home. All right? So, everybody, happy 4th, late. And we're going to be actually talking a little bit kind of political tonight. And we are going to be talking about our personal Mount Rushmores of comic creators by decades. So, before we get into the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the week, let's go ahead and start introducing our cast of crazies for tonight. On one of my sides, because I never get it right, Kaz.
On the opposite side, yeah.
Kaz,
all right, everybody. I am Kasisi Harris. You can call me Kaz because I know that's a weird name for some. Writer here at Silverline. Again, very short career here. Penned an issue of Trump's little short story in the Christmas issue of Trump's a few years back. Have Silverline Team Up Volume 2 coming out hopefully soon, starring Tempest, Miss Fury, and a new hero. And then another secret project that the head honcho is reviewing. So that's me in a nutshell. Let's go down here.
Oh, I'm Rob Davis, longtime comic book artist. Started in the 80s and as a letterer, then a inker, then a penciler, and liked penciling best. Cool. And worked on projects from as diverse characters as Merlin in the Ancient Past, all the way up to Star Trek crew in the far-flung future, and all kinds of stuff in between. And I am now doing some self-publishing work. I'm art director for Airship 27, a pulp revival publishing group. And if that wasn't busy enough, I'm doing stuff for Silverline Comics, which is why I'm here. So next.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rob.
Javier. Right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Javier Lugo. I'm a resident of Tampa, Florida, and I am your humble sequential artist and sometime comic book cover for Silverline Comics. Right now, I've just submitted about 2 weeks ago my contribution to Cthulhu Invades Fairyland, Volume 2. 5 pages to a story. Pretty cool stuff, if I may say so myself.
Sounds wild.
So that book has been crowdfunded. It's done. It's been printed. And now when I get copies, you guys get copies. So that's me. And John, take it away.
All right, everybody. My name is John Metych. I am the writer of stuff. Most likely, you know it from Sniper and Rook, upcoming Ripper, and hopefully get the Sniper and Rook Area 50 number 2 out this year is my plan. All completely penciled, looks fantastic. Showed some samples a couple weeks ago. If you had not seen those, go back and check some of the past Wednesday Whams. They're all out there. We want the numbers up. We want to entertain you. Please go check some of the past streams and see the amazing things that we've shared and the things that we've been creating all along. And speaking of creating, you know, I'm clicking now. I'm trying to make everything work here. You know, creating comics it's fun and it's a passion and it's something that we all love to do. But it's not easy, and none of us are in this to make any money. When I was self-publishing myself, I used to lose money. And when I do shows, if I made table money back, I was thrilled. We do it for the passion. We do it for the love. But, it was Silverline's, we're a company. And we are looking to survive. And we know that Diamond Comics, who was the monopoly in comic distribution, has closed the doors. They're in bankruptcy, and they owe a lot of people a lot of money. So we do want to share that currently we do have going on our Silverline operational incidental. Who's scrolling?
Me. Go
ahead. Oh, thanks, man. I was going to share that screen out. I was like, wait, why is that moving? Oh, yes. So, thanks for taking care of that, my friend. Yeah. So, we do have our, up on Fund My Comic, for incidentals, for monies that we did not get back from Diamond, for products that were shipped, things that were paid for, things that were printed, and Silverline paid their bills, but we were never able to collect the money back from Diamond as we were supposed to. And then, of course, when it's in the court systems, it's government. The 9 scariest words in English language.
It take a long time for it to come about. Yeah.
So yes. So yeah, and anything that you can do, if you're interested in backing, this, we will talk about some of the things that are available in just a minute. If you can't back anything right now, go ahead and share it out. We would absolutely, positively love you for doing that too. Kaz, kind of take me through some of those things since you got the control there. What are some of the things that we have available?
Okay, you can get 3-issue series. So you can see Team Beetle here, Switchblade, Friar Rush. We have these red Silverline mystery bags, right? And if you go back on a Silverline stream, you can kind of see someone open one. But yeah, you can get any of our back issues, like the 4-issue series we have here, Cat Mouse, Divinity, Kalis, Olga Books, Trumps, Twilight Grim. I talked about the red bags. We have some where some unfulfilled orders, you can get like their package.
They got returned, so their loss is your gain.
Yep. Exclusive foil covers. I would zoom in, but I think it'd mess it up. So you can see Cat Mouse, Sirens, Rejects, Friar Rush, Trumps, Champion and Miss Fury, Cray, all the foil covers that we have. Again, any Kickstarter exclusive that was overstock foil exclusives.
Ooh, that cat and mouse foil that was up there. That is so pretty. The top upper left-hand corner.
Yeah, that's nice.
I dig in that.
See some of the reflected light on that lenticular cover, as they call it.
Yep, we got some commissions going. I got my commission.
Oh, what? Who's that there? Only $40 plus shipping for a commission from who?
Yeah, Rob.
That's right.
That's
I got
from
mine.
Rob Davis.
I got mine. You get yours. It was really good. I love it. So yes.
So hey, Kaz, show it again. We're gonna make you big.
This is Dr. Big.
There you go.
It's got that original art page behind it that he bought too.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the art page behind it?
Let me open.
It's a cover.
Gosh, now you're making
Show
me
the
open
goodies.
everything. God. Okay. 1 second.
You got time to kill, bro.
1 second. Try to be careful. Wait for it. Wait for it. Beyond the Stars. Wait.
Oh, BTS.
Oh,
that one.
Wow.
Oh, very nice. Very cool.
Yes.
So and it also
go ahead.
It also came with that little attachment there that shows the original sketch that I got approval from Roland with. Yeah.
A whole bunch of good
in there.
stuff. Yep. Wait. It's in
and
there.
And a free comic book too.
Yes, and a free comic book. Wait. Beyond the Star.
Yeah.
And I am appreciative of all of it. Boom, brother. Boom.
I did 5 or 6 page story in the back of that, and that's my cover on Brother Bones.
Oh, that's very cool.
That is really neat.
So again, guys, support in any way you can.
I don't know, Kaz is frozen now.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you see me?
We hear you.
I got him. Yeah,
okay.
Is Kaz frozen?
No.
Yeah.
He's going.
Yeah.
All right. I must be frozen. Great.
Yep.
A lot of affordable art and a lot of affordable,
so,
just things in general on this page, and every bit that you help or that you support us with goes to Silverline. Again, a company who is putting out finished product to fans. So like, share, subscribe, donate if you can, and then get you some good art and comics, right? They're all good stories. So enough of my talking. I put the link in the chat just in case so people can go to the Fund My Comic. But if you just go to Fund My Comic and search Silverline, you'll see this campaign, which is operational. Let me say the right title so I don't mess it up. Silverline Operational Incidentals. You'll see that. Just click on that. Do what you can for us. We appreciate you.
Cool. Thank you, Kaz. You did a fantabulous job on that, and we appreciate you. So tonight, we, like I said, we are getting comic political, and we are sharing with you our Mount Rushmore of comic creators by pairs of decades. So last week, we kind of talked, and we went and decided, Rob was going to go and do the deep dive into his loves of the 60s and 70s. So he's going to be presenting. I've got his pictures already ready to go. He'll be talking about some of the creators and some of the art. Javier had gone and he did double duty. So Javier was like, oh, I was assigned the 80s and 90s. I'm going to do one for the 80s and I'm going to do one for the 90s. So, and then he threw in honorable mentions. So overachiever above and beyond. Well played, Javier.
Yeah, which meant I had to jump in and throw in some of my honorable mentions because I can't let Javier get ahead of me.
And so now I'm going to look like the total schluff off this time around, even though I'm the only one with the PowerPoint. Just got to say, but it's me, so it's got to be a PowerPoint. So I was given the 2000 to 2019 realm. And if we remember, I kind of dropped off of reading mainstream comics from that time period because of J. Michael Straczynski. Thank you for making that stupid Gwen Stacy storyline. And then, of course, the whole let's make Spider-Man and Mary Jane break up crap. That's other reasons I stayed out of comics. I almost did a second Mount Rushmore of people that I'd want to flip the bird to. But I didn't think Roland would like that. But I can tell you the two gentlemen who made those decisions would have been on there. And then Kaz. Kaz is our wild card tonight.
So Kaz has no Mount Rushmore. I'm just going to appreciate what you guys presented and judge you all.
All right. So that card was not so wild.
Well,
Kaz will fill time if we need it. I hear that he could sing and dance.
Here's the thing, Kaz. Once you see what we have, you can throw in, here's some that I think you guys should have at least mentioned. So from those eras. So, yeah, you've got the opportunity to throw in.
Well, I trust you all. I'm going to learn.
If nothing else,
man that you are, you trust us.
Just keep your hand on that dump button, that 8-second delay. Just stand by.
Roland's the one who called me out for the potty mouth. Yeah. So, and I think, and it actually is pretty cool because, each, Javier, Rob, and I each took a different direction on the idea. And so just seeing like how three different people interpreted the same, plan, it's kind of cool. So that also is bringing a different perspective, to the scene tonight. So without any further ado, because that's too much due to ado, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing the screen. Prior to tonight's session, Rob had created a series of photos, which I added to my PowerPoint.
Some stuff off the internet.
I am the only one with the PowerPoint, as I said. But yeah, so, and I will apologize to everybody. I don't know why my camera keeps going out tonight. It's really, really, really kind of irritating. So if I do like unplug and replug.
In no particular order, some of the people that I chose to go on there. And this one is, these are just the ones that came up on the internet when I did 60s artists.
So Rob,
comic book artists.
When I went into the photos that you sent on Facebook Messenger to our group, I copied and pasted them in order that you had them. So if you had a sequential order for your storytelling, you're good to go.
I did not have these in any particular order. He's not. This one is at number 1. The next one is at number 2. These are just four picks, no particular order. And that,
Cool.
of course, is for those the uninitiated. That's Carmen Infantino. He was very influential in the '60s, especially at Marvel. He did a lot of covers. He drew The Flash. He drew all kinds of books over at DC during that time period. So he was very, like I said, a lot of covers, a lot of covers back then. He was actually an editor-in-chief at DC in the late '60s, early '70s. So his influence carried over actually into the office later on. But there's an example of his work from Batman.
And why this in particular, or is it this doesn't have any?
Well, it's the kind.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the kind of cover that he would come up with. I mean, there's a little cheesecake on there, but he also has the characters in big heads looking at it, and then there's that swoosh of an arrow coming into the character. That was very emblematic of a lot of the work he did back then. It was very back in those days. A cover sold the book because it was on a spinner rack or it was on a book rack of some sort. So any kind of cover that did wild colors or had something weird happening to it on the cover, then that was to grab your attention and get you to buy the book. I don't think that works as well today as it did then. I'm sorry,
Carmine Infantino, and actually, that's what I grabbed some paper for because I'm going to be jotting these down, and we'll go ahead and throw some of the stuff in chat later on. So there's a repository of that knowledge out there.
I really like the. Oh, go ahead, Javier.
I was going to say, wasn't he really big in the Flash?
In what? I'm sorry.
The Flash.
Yes, I mentioned he drew the Flash. Yes.
So Rob, let me know when you're ready for the next one.
Batman for a while too. Go ahead. You can put the next one up if you want.
All right, go.
I don't remember which one came second. It's Jack Kirby. If I was going to put anybody number one, that would be Jack Kirby. And that's the several. When I searched for Jack Kirby, several things came up, but this is emblematic of his work to me from that period. His artwork is what inspired me to become a comic book artist. His stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, his stuff just jumps off the page. I fortunately was not able to, when I was a kid, to purchase this particular issue of the Avengers, but issue number 2 is in my collection. I still have the old ratty copy that I bought back when I was a kid in my collection.
Awesome.
So
that probably means more to you than a mint copy would, like sealed in a Mylar.
Yeah, it's the one I've had all these years. Now, what I did was I went back and collected the first 8 Avengers, but I could not get a hold of a copy of a decently priced copy of Avengers number 1 because by the time I had enough money to buy them, they were outrageously priced. So I bought a nice reprint of it. So I've got all 8 of them in my collection now.
I'll throw in some.
The first 8 issues is the only ones Kirby did.
I'll throw in some Kirby. Here's some Kirby trivia that people might not know out there, and it kind of ties into when we were talking about Spider-Man and stuff last week. We know that Steve Ditko drew like the original stories of Spider-Man. Spidey first appeared in Amazing Fantasy 15, but the cover to Amazing Fantasy 15 is Jack Kirby. So that very iconic cover that everybody could picture.
But it's inked by Ditko. It's inked by Ditko. I don't know.
I did not know that part.
Yep, it was inked by Ditko, but Kirby drew it. So
very cool, awesome. Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah, go for it. Jim Steranko. Most people and that was probably late 60s. I think 67, 68 is when he started working in the books, and he was a very cinematic creator. He was very influential in changing the look of how comics storytelling was done. Again,
he had some
like I said,
very interesting looking stuff with S.H.I.E.L.D., like very trippy. Like I want to take a vape and start puffing on it, and then I'll understand it a little bit better. Yeah, kind of like the David Lynch of the art world in the 60s.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, he brought in pop art. I don't know if anybody knows what pop art was. It was really neon type colors, really bright colors, and swirling. I wish I'd have gotten an example of that as well. But he he brought in some graphic design elements into comic book storytelling that hadn't been used much before, and it was he was very much inspired by Jack Kirby, and you can see some of that influence in his work. But he brought something, bombastic work of Jack Kirby. He took it to a cinematic max here with the stuff that he did. So he was very influential in the late 60s, 67, 68, 69, right in that era. Some of it carried over into the 70s, but he wasn't a prolific artist, but he was a very influential one.
Cool.
And here's Steve Ditko. We were just talking about. This is a cover that that popped up when I did the search for it, which I found interesting. Is that notice that the Spider-Man up at the top has different colors in the letters, which is very unusual. But this is from
Reminds me of Wonder Bread.
Yeah. I don't know why they did that.
Peanut butter color, yeah.
But this is his rogues gallery that he went up against in the 1960s too, and they all, in this annual issue, they all gathered together to fight Spider-Man.
I was trying to zoom in. Sorry about that. I was like, the guy in the purple, is that Paste Pot Pete? But no, that's Doc Ock.
That's Doc Ock in the background. Yeah, that's his Vulture. You can see the Electro, and then there's Craven the Hunter and Sandman. Those are his big. The Sinister Six. When they got together, they called themselves the Sinister Six.
Anybody that saw Mysterio in the Spider-Man movies, Mysterio was actually cool at one point.
Yeah, Mysterio is almost hidden back behind.
You can see him.
Spider-Man's leg, but he is there. He's behind that cloud of stuff on the left. I didn't notice him at first, but yeah, he's in there. I unfortunately never had this particular issue in my collection, which is to my detriment. I've read it since then, but I don't have it in my collection.
Big 72-page annual, 1964.
I think it had some reprints in the back of it as well. It had a Spider-Man story, and then it had some reprints from earlier in the Spider-Man run. Now that should be a 70s. Yeah, that's a 70s. 1970s. That Neil Adams, absolutely. Was a powerhouse in the 1970s. This is one of his iconic covers from Superman, where he's busting the chains. In fact, I think they did a model kit based on this particular cover back then. So there's a lot of people. I think John Byrne counts him as an influence. Trying to think, there's a bunch of different people who you can see his influence in their work. Dan Jurgens is another one. The list would be very long, but he was very influential in the 70s. Kind of gave everything a more realistic look. Again, bringing in some graphic design, illustrator elements to his work that you didn't see before this. Very accurate. Well, it's still stretched anatomy, but it looks more realistic than some of the other cartoony comic book stuff from earlier. Much more realistic than
Adams.
Yeah.
Cool.
John Romita Sr. Without a doubt was when he took over Spider-Man from Steve Ditko. He made the character his own, brought a whole new feel to the book. He became the art director at Marvel later on, and inked a lot of other people's work back then. Was very influential. I've seen the guy at conventions, one of the nicest men you'll ever meet, and also gave us his son as another powerhouse artist for later decades at Marvel, but very influential at the time, and like I said, became the art director and in charge of taking care of production work at Marvel, making sure that the covers look great.
And he would redraw if need be. He'd touch up. He
was in the production. He was the production department. He did all that stuff. So very influential. Bernie Wrightson, another influential artist from the 70s. he brought a whole different sensibility, especially to the horror comic books.
Mhm.
It's hard to describe. It's kind of a visceral thing. It's this feeling that he brought to it, plus the detail work in this.
Mhm.
If you could zoom in on that, the all that is done is little. I don't know if that's pencil work or whatever it is. Where it's shading, it's
Mhm.
like little dots, like he did a pointillistic. That's the kind of detail work that he did. You know, if anybody at home can zoom in on that, you'll see what it is. It's almost like it's shot from pencils, which didn't happen very often back then.
For a
But
moment, I thought she was having a McDonald meal on. She eating McDonald's? No, that's a cup. Okay, my vision is bad.
Yeah, it's the right color for French fries, isn't it? And then that white cup there maybe looks like a milkshake. Good point. But yeah, he was very influential in the era too. Several artists that came along after him had some of the same feel to their work. But he was one of the co-creators of Swamp Thing, and this is the cover from the House of Secrets, where Swamp Thing first appeared. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask something? Hopefully, Rob, you can help me with this. This woman looks very familiar to me. She reminds me of the story that from EC Comics that started the whole comic authority debacle where she's holding a head in her hand with an axe.
Oh,
is that on purpose?
I don't know if that's on purpose or not. This actually is. I can't remember who it is, but it's a comic creator's wife who posed for this.
Oh,
I don't remember who it was. I think it's Tatiana Wood, but that's a guess. I may be wrong about that, but it was a comic book artist's wife, and she actually worked in the industry later. But again, if anybody if any of the viewers know right off the top of their head who it is, let us know. But it's an actual person who posed in the studio for that particular piece.
That looks beautiful.
And her husband is the guy who posed for the Swamp Thing piece in the background, just so that he can get everything in the right place and get the lighting right and everything. So
bravo.
And another see, I
I'm a little excited.
I know who that is, but yeah, Neil. Okay, my list of the most important is Neil Adams, Bernie Wrightson, John Buscema, and John Romita Jr. So the one we haven't seen so far is John Buscema.
This is going to be part of your honorable mentions because
yes, it is. Should be. Yeah, that Conan is actually very late 60s. He was an honorable mention from the very late 60s.
Yeah, that's Barry Windsor Smith.
Yeah.
Barry Windsor Smith. Yeah, thank you. I thought I'd said that already, but you're right. Barry Windsor Smith from Conan #1, which was the work that made him famous. And
the first time, and by generation, us like Javier and I, because Javier's nodding. Yeah, we know him as the guy who did Wolverine's origin story.
Mm-hmm.
You
exactly.
know, not the Logan thing that came later. That was junk.
And you can tell the growth of his work as well. This is very Kirby-ish and kind of crude at this point. But later on, he really refined his work and got better and better and better. And so, yeah, but his storytelling was always spot on. It was just very, very fluid, and it was gritty, and it felt very, very real.
If he's late 60s, I see a closer tie to like a Neil Adams than a Kirby. But that's just my take on it. Maybe but
if you look at some of his a lot of his early work is very Kirby inspired.
Is it?
He did.
That's what got him hired.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's right. That is what got him hired. But he also has some of the same feel as Adams. You've got if you go in, he's got a lot more
detailed line work.
Yeah, detailed line work that kind of gives you the shape and the form of the character. That's one of his hallmarks is that you feel the shape of the character because of the line that he uses. So, yep.
Hold on. My system not playing nice tonight. All right, there we go.
Okay, and that's Gil Kane, who is he's one of my runners up for the 70s.
Oh, what do you got there, Javier? Same book. Cool.
Yeah. That was the first one that I like this cover because it shows off his ability to draw anatomy, and then because Spider-Man has eight arms, it makes it. But he made it feel real. It's still, the anatomy works even with those extra arms. So that's. Yeah, I wish I could have found a color version of this, but I didn't on the internet. But that was one of his better pieces on Spider-Man in the 70s, introducing Morbius, the vampire-like character. But yeah, he's
smacking Peter around like a little punk.
Yeah, Wally
Backhanded too.
Wally Wood is a 60s honorable mention because he completely redefined the look of Daredevil, and was very influential with a lot of artists. His secondary lighting that he would put on characters, you'd see one side of his face of a person's face in shadow, but you'd get this reflected light, secondary lighting on the characters. He was very very good at that, very adept at that. But you could really consider him to be a creator who came from the 1950s because he worked at EC Comics back then. It's where he cut his teeth on his work. He did some very cartoony stuff, and he did some very good at his characters seem a little stiff, but they're extremely well rendered. Its storytelling is spot on, but very influential that's what kept him from being on the top of the list. Another honorable mention from the 1960s, Robert Crumb, who did some comics with an X at the end instead of a CS. That's the underground comics scene, and he was very influential in that era. Again, another person who did a lot of. If you look real close, there's a lot of detail work in the work that he did, giving form to the characters, even the cartoony looking characters that he created. So yeah, I count him as an honorable mention from the 1960s. See what else is it? What do you got next there?
My program crashed. It'll just take a second again. So you got four more. They're coming up.
Yeah.
And my alt tab is not working. And yeah.
Yep.
One of those nights.
Technology is supposed to speed things up, but
yep, except for when it doesn't. All right, so here we go. We're just gonna go this route.
There we go.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, that's Joe Kubert from the 70s. I think he also did some work in the 60s, but yeah, he had to come into mention somewhere, and so I put him in the 1970s because
that's a good cover.
If nothing else, it's an excellent cover, and it's a great character. Just one of the many great things. Hawkman was his big deal in the 60s and 70s, but so I had to put him in somewhere because he started the Kubert School. He gave us his two sons as creators, so he was very influential. Storytelling again, and there's the John Buscema piece that I was looking for. That's an iconic cover from John Buscema from the Silver Surfer. After Kirby left Marvel to head over to DC, John Buscema kind of took over several of Kirby's books and kind of became the Marvel artist at that time. And this is just one example of that. I mean, you can look at that pose on Thor. Is that crazy or what? And then you look at the Silver Surfer coming down across his own logo to attack Thor. What a cover that is!
That one is iconic.
Yeah, he did some work on Conan later on that is just very iconic as well. And here is an honorable mention that I couldn't leave out from the 1960s and early 70s. Kurt Swan, and I remember reading a lot of when I was a little kid. We used to go to the barber shop, and the barber shop had all these comic books sitting on a table for the kids to while they were waiting to go get their haircut. And I read a bunch of adventure comics with the Legion of Superheroes in it and this is, I think, the very first issue in which they appeared in Adventure Comics, and that's Kurt Swan's work. He was the Superman artist of the '60s, late '50s into the '60s, and at one time, someone looking at my artwork said that he could see a Kurt Swan influence in my work, and I just kind of went, oh wow. I didn't see it myself in it, but I was very. I felt very good about that.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and another one from the '70s is Herb Trimpe. Had to include him because he was very influential in that, especially on the Hulk. He also did some work, I think, on Shield for a little while. But his art was what introduced the world to Wolverine, and this is the cover from the issue of the Incredible Hulk where that happened. So. Another one who was inspired by Jack Kirby, and you can see that in his work. And I have seen this in person, and it is incredible. The actual Mount Rushmore, and my wife would stand in front of it and just go, "Wow," for like 10 minutes. But if you've never been, you should go. It's an incredible memorial to those four great presidents.
Thanks for taking us for a walk down the 2 decades, Rob. Appreciate
60s through the 70s.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Javier, I know you don't have illustrations, and if you want to run us through your 80s and 90s, I know we could just chat.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, let me put a disclaimer. Comic book artists include writers, colorists, letterers, pencilers, and inkers. Mm-hmm. Of course, I can't make a list of the most influential out of that pool of people. It's just too many. So I decided to concentrate a little bit more on individuals whose work you can still feel the impact of them today. Everybody that Rob Davis mentioned, at least a good 80% of those people, I saw them in their later years, filling in G.I. Joe, filling in here, filling in there, not realizing that these were yesterday's stars that people have forgotten by the time I came into the scene in the 80s. So much respect to them. And let's go down the list. I have Dave Gibbons, who's very well known for Watchmen. He had a run on Hal Jordan, Green Lantern as well, among others. He's part of the British invasion of the early 80s, where I think it's Jeanette Kahn went overseas and with, I think it was, I don't know, I've heard this in third parties, went over and discussed a lot of information and a lot of storytelling with Alan Moore and other creators, Grant Morrison included, and brought some of them into DC. Of course, everybody understands who Dave Gibbons is if you know Watchmen from either the comic book, the movie, or the HBO series. And his work is still available today. All right. And he wished me happy birthday this past summer. So,
so cool.
All right. Number 2, Frank Miller. Frank Miller produced so much work in the 80s.
Agreed.
And 90s as well. Starting off with Daredevil. Yeah, 2 runs on Daredevil. First as penciler only, and then as penciler and writer and creator, along with Klaus Janson as his inker and colorist in many cases, where his graphic style evolved to incorporate more shadows and my favorite trope of Asia, ninjas. It was ninjas in the 80s. I was in. It didn't matter. That's why I went into G.I. Joe. They had ninjas. It was it. That was my jam. All right, third, George. I'm sorry. Let me stay with Frank for a little bit more. He did The Dark Knight Returns. You cannot downplay the impact of The Dark Knight Returns. Batman Year One, Ronin. He all created all of these things. As you can see his style evolve, especially in Ronin, where he embraced a little bit more of the European aesthetic, after he was exposed to heavy metal or Metal Hurlant, as it was published at the time in France. Okay. All right. And of course, through the 90s, he went and did 300, and he did Martha Washington Goes to War and Sin City eventually.
And he wrote RoboCop 2.
Yes, he also wrote RoboCop 2, which soured him on the experience of making movies for Hollywood, and he wouldn't do anything else until Robert Tarantino convinced him to give him a shot with Sin City. Okay, and number 3, George Paris. George Paris' influence cannot be under or overstated in any way, manner, or form. If you saw anything from DC in the early 80s, most likely in any kind of package for underoos or any kind of merchandise, it was either him or Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Okay. Once you understand the visual style of certain people, you start seeing them. Oh, wait a minute, that background. Yeah, that's him. And that's him. You pick that up. George Paris was and may he rest in peace, he was a wonderful artist who put in a lot of work in both Marvel and DC throughout the 70s, 80s, and beyond. If you know Crisis of Infinite Earths, that's him. If you saw Avengers Infinity Gauntlet, that's him. When it came to group shots, nobody did it better. And once he was let loose on Wonder Woman after the reboot of DC after Crisis, he had an extended run on that where he brought his own sensibilities to the book, updated it for the 80s and 90s, and took off. All right, he also came back with with the second
Mark
Crisis.
Wolfman?
Yeah, Mark Wolfman was the writer at the time, but he also did with Jeff Johns. He did the second Crisis.
Yep, that's the one.
And Mr. Perez also did a lot of stuff over at Malibu back in the 90s, where our head honcho Roland was editor. So.
He was a big proponent of independent comics as well. He had his own newsletter. Pacesetter was concentrating on his work, and he had his own series that he tried to publish multiple times, DN Agents, and a few others. So George Paris is a big idol of mine. John Byrne is number 4. John Byrne in the 80s could not be touched. This man, not only was he coming off of the X-Men, which was a bi-monthly title, and that's why a lot of people noticed a decrease in the quality of his work when he went to Alpha Flight and then went off to Fantastic Four, and he was drawing multiple books. Marvel
and inking
really needed him
too.
at the time.
Yeah, and he inked himself too.
And exactly. So this gentleman, he's still working. He just got. My comic shop has the Elsewhere, X-Men Elsewhere.
Yeah, Elsewhere. It was designed. He started doing it during COVID. It's kind of like where he would have taken the stuff. And it's supposed to be 3 huge omnibuses, although apparently recently said he's kind of bored and he's not going to finish it, but he's going to add in the third one what was going to happen.
Yes.
So, at least there's closure. I mean, that's better than we get with a lot of comics.
He was a big proponent of conserving Jack Kirby's legacy and making sure that Jack Kirby's name was never forgotten. He did runs on Jack Kirby's Fourth World, the Demon Etrigan, a big run on West Coast Avengers, which gave us the new White Vision, which is the one you see in the TV show.
The Avengers leaned on his WCA stuff quite a bit.
Yep. He did a run on the Hulk, which is well received. A run on Captain America is very well received, and is still in print. So these 4 individuals, you can't go wrong. You can still find their work; it's readily available, and you will see others being following up on their steps, how their influences are just carry over. And finally, John Byrne his artwork was on the cover of Time magazine. You can't.
The Superman, right?
Yes.
Yes,
busting out. Yep. Yes. Absolutely. All right.
So those were your 80s.
That's
what do you have
my
for 90s?
All right. So for the 90s, let's go. Let's see. Let me go down my list. All right. So in no particular order, these are individuals you should recognize because their impact is still being felt. We have Todd McFarlane.
Yep.
What can I say about this guy? Big dreamer, swung big, hit big, took risks, expanded beyond comics, helped co-found the #3 publisher of comics in the United States, Image Comics. Did revolutionize the toy industry. Almost revolutionized the sports card memorabilia, but instead he opted to buy very expensive balls. Okay, so that's he bought up, what was Sammy Sosa or Mark McGuire home run ball? Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so yes, and of course McFarlane is still big in comics at this time. His comic book Spawn has generated at least 4 spin-offs that are currently being published, with others in the past. He's got at least a good catalog of 50 different books. Big break was on Detective Comics. He did that cover. He graduated from that to the Incredible Hulk. Then he went to the Amazing Spider-Man, where he co-created and introduced Venom, and put Spidey back in the red and blue costume, because at the time he was dressed in black because, you know, he had gone to this Beyonder world and fought over there, and an alien symbiote had joined him and turned him into a black man with the white stripes. Be that as it may, it was the 80s. People were trying to do stuff. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's the Todd McFarlane. He's still around. You can find his work everywhere. Jim Lee, also another distinguished gentleman. He went through the ranks of Marvel, starting off in Alpha Flight, went on to the Punisher, did a Punisher War Journal, and then he was poached for the X-Men. He did a fill-in issue, turned it to 3 issues, and then he became the full-time artist of the X-Men after Mark Silvestri. And then X-Men #1 was printed, over 1 million copies sold, biggest book of the year up to that point. And he eventually joined Image, or co-created Image, created Wildstorm as his studio with Wiles Portacio, sold that to DC Comics, became one of their CEOs, creative directors, I'm thinking.
And editor-in-chief. Yeah, co-editor-in-chief, more or less.
And now he has a high position, big family, and he does 3-hour streams drawing in his studio. What an incredible way to share his talent and give all of us an insight into the creativity that it takes to create Batman Hush, Superman for Tomorrow, and Wildcats, and other books. All right, and #4, I have Mark Silvestri. Now, he's not as celebrated as he used to be, but Mark Silvestri brought a style that was completely his own. It didn't look like anybody else's work. Very scratchy, edgy. His inker, was it Green? Dan Green, yes. Would also enhance his pencils, and he was a great storyteller. He brought a lot of sexiness to the X-Men. He brought them into the 80s. In the 80s, all the ladies were doing what? Jane Fonda workouts, the big hair, the leotards. Everybody had that. Longshot, Dazzler, Rogue. Mm-hmm. I mean, Rogue was literally just a black leotard with some green, flaky stuff covering her chest. Literally, that's it. It was incredible. The 80s, and yeah, those books are still available as well. So their impact is still being felt. Mark Silvestri's #3. I would say Dave Finch is his legacy, because Dave Finch started off in his studio, of course, and learned a whole bunch under him. #4, I'm going to bring up Mr. Adam Kubert. Adam Kubert is a workhorse for Marvel, for DC. He did Batman versus Predator at the beginning, when the first few times where you would introduce movie properties and have them cross over with comic book characters. He would letter, he would color, he would do whatever it had to do to get into the business. He did. Him and his brother would trade off. They also did some war comics, and then before you knew it, Adam Kubert was doing his own thing, and he had a wonderful run with Peter David on the Hulk, and he then became an instructor at his father's school. I don't know if he took over for it, but he was an instructor there, and he still produces work to this day. My understanding is that he's the one that does covers for G.I. Joe for the Energon universe. And all right, I just want to point out a few honorable mentions from the 80s. I want to give a lot of respect to Jim Aparo and his work at DC. Klaus Janson for his work at DC as well, both as an inker and a penciler on his own right, and the influence he had on inkers everywhere. Alan Davis is another British import with a big impact in Marvel and DC.
No relation.
Brian Boland, he did, was it Camelot 3000?
Yeah.
And his run on covers for
ton of covers.
The Vertigo line is incredible. There's one particular one for Vamps, which is just like a whitewashed background and just red lips and the teeth coming out of a vampire. And a lot of people thought it was a photo. It wasn't. He literally painted that himself.
And of course, he did Batman the Killing Joke.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And Bill Sienkiewicz. Bill Sienkiewicz was a brilliant artist, is a brilliant artist. And it was brilliant seeing him evolve from Moon Knight, where he was like a student of Neil Adams. And you could see his work evolve when he went from there. He went to the New Mutants, in which he became a lot more experimental. He also did Elektra Assassin with Frank Miller. He did Stray Toasters, and his style continues to evolve. And right now, what I've seen him do in the last few years is when a popular artist or performer dies, he does a memoriam illustration for them.
Oh, that's so cool.
They're always gorgeous and, of course, very emotional as well. For the 90s, my honorable mentions, I have to mention Rob Liefeld. As much as I may not like his artwork, his influence is still being felt. He's still selling millions of dollars worth of comics every freaking month. I don't know how he does it. He does it. People love his work. I listen to his podcast because I have to spend 3 hours in dialysis and I gotta spend the time doing something. So I listen to him. And what he says makes a lot of sense. If you were there, it makes a lot of sense. For everybody else, he sounds like a blowhard, but if you weren't there, you can't judge. Listen to what the man says, and he has the receipts. He has the receipts. Joe Madureira started a whole brand new way of drawing Humberto Ramos. You can see his effect there. Joe also showed other artists, you don't have to stay in comics. You can go to other things. And he went and created his own animation studio for gaming, and that's where he's been. John Romita Jr., The Legacy. He's not his father. He never was. Nobody should ever say, oh, he's just a Nepo baby. He never was. He never has been. He's a tremendous artist on his own right. And he cut his teeth on Iron Man with Bob Layton helping him out. He went to the X-Men when they were in a lull, creatively speaking, and he delivered solid pages. I mean, they went from from Cockrum to Byrne to Paul, and these guys all left, and they called on J.R. Jarrett to show up, and he did. He showed up for a whole bunch of issues, and Mutant Massacre was his last chapter there. No, I'm sorry, that's not true. He came back about 90 issues later. Then he went to Daredevil, where Wally Wood's influence, now that you mentioned it, Rob, I see it. I see him and Al Williamson's work together. Gorgeous. Then he worked with Frank Miller on a Man Without Fear. And John Romita Jr. has been creating ever since. If you've seen any of the two movies with the kid that's green with yellow markings, it's not Wanted, it's the other guy. Kick-Ass. That's him. All right. Let me see who else. Alex Ross. Kingdom Come cannot be understated either. Great influence on the market. Completely different from everything. And I only put him as a honorable mention because his work looks like Kurt Swan's work come to life. It truly does. But much respect to Alex Ross. He's still creating. He's still making covers. I saw his cover for Thor recently. Tremendous. Mark Bagley. He gave hope to everybody that you could do the Marvel tryout stuff and get hired by Marvel and draw Spider-Man, because he did it.
Yep.
And finally, Dave McKean. I do want to point out his work, his gorgeous work on the Sandman series through the 90s with Neil Gaiman. While he didn't do comic book stories, his covers were stories on their own. It was mixed media. He would use nails and wood and animals and furs, and it's a masterclass on You think you have limits in comics? No, you don't. I'm going to show you. Between him and Bill Sienkiewicz, I can't decide who's more experimental, but they're both tremendous artists. And
Did you ever read Violent Cases? McKean did that. I'm 99% sure.
Yeah.
Regrettably, I did not have a lot of access to Vertical titles. So, yeah, no.
Yeah, and I consider both those guys, the Sienkiewicz and McKean, as artists with a capital A. They could pick up a paintbrush and paint a painting.
And this is
incredible stuff. It's unlike anything else in comics. Both of them.
And I want to clarify, my judgment is without regards to whatever they may do in their personal lives. I don't know them. I'm not judging who they are as people. I'm only looking at the work, the art, not the artist.
Now, I saw your list because you posted it on our chat group, and I found I thought of 3 from the 1980s that you didn't mention that I should be in your honorable mention group, and I'll just name them off real quick. I got 2. I'm sorry. There's Steve Rude and Tim Truman, both who were very, very influential in the comic book companies, the independent companies in the 1980s. Steve Rude doing Nexus. Doing
indies,
Nexus. Yeah.
That's a whole different. We can talk about Howard Chaykin, right? We
Yeah.
can talk about the Hernandez brothers.
Yeah.
Right? We can talk about Dave Lapham. But
there's
that's
a whole list of the
Yeah.
80s was just chock full of very talented people who just came out of the woodwork for the independent companies. But those are 2 that jumped out at me as possible honorable mentions for that, because very influential, both of them.
My list was curated with the thought that if you hear these names, don't know who they are, you can literally go to any comic book shop and find some other work. It's out there.
Same with these 2 guys too, by the way.
Yes.
All right, so, John, you got like 4.
Yeah, I was like, okay, chatty freaking Cathy's. I've got like 3 minutes to do 23 years.
It's not.
I can't believe we did this,
done.
Javier. We ate the hour.
That's so funny.
Yeah, all right, 30-minute Rob. Okay, cool. Here we go. So if we start off with our good old Mount Rushmore, what would it look like if there was stupid alt tab not working again? All right, so let's blank Mount Rushmore, right? Okay, good.
Wow.
What? So, all right. Here's what I did. And I started going along with the things that I liked. And remember that I kind of left a little bit during this time. And so what were things that got my attention? What were things that pulled me back? What were things that actually I cared about? And that made an influence to me. And these people also had to have some influence on the art form as well. Notice that there aren't necessarily as many big names during this period because Marvel and DC were trying to squelch an Image 2.0 from ever happening again, or from ever happening. So when I'm going through, I am looking through, these are supposed to be like, for me at least, the personal Mount Rushmores. And it's a very difficult time for me because I'm like, okay, I'm not in these too much. But going through it from 2000 to 2019, give me a big ooh.
Ooh.
Big ah.
Oh.
All right. Ed Brubaker. So there were rules that were in comics that who stays dead? The only people that ever stay dead are Uncle Ben and Bucky. And he broke that. And he brought Bucky back as the Winter Soldier, which has, long-running ramifications in comics and in media. He killed Captain America. There was a whole additional Captain America storylines based upon that. And my love for Cap storylines. So that is how I made sure that there was absolutely one writer that was on the list of my 4.
Okay.
4-ish. David Finch. So as Javier was saying, that we've got Dave Finch as the legacy to Mark Silvestri, I kind of started giggling inside because I'm like, I know what's coming up next. And, Finch, some of these folks, were in the 90s. Like other guys said, there's a lot of crossover between the years. Yeah. But when were a lot of these people very influential? Like the Finch look was kind of one of the most defined looks of the era, where a lot of art was just starting to look common. It wasn't necessarily as definable. The companies wanted that on purpose because, again, they never wanted another image to happen. There were people with their own unique styles, but this was one of the few that kind of really started getting like a fervor and a fan favorite. That was kind of a throwback to my generation with the Liefeld, Lee, McFarlanes of the day. And I also did put in a little 0.5 because Dave Finch was a great Dave Finch, but then we also had Jason Fabok come along, who wound up after a while being more Finch than Finch. So he's kind of like the little like vice president fitting in there. Jason Fabok did also Batman work. He's done other indie titles. Very much, his stuff looked very Finch inspired at the beginning, and like you said, he was from Silvestri Legacy. And one of the things, going back to your Silvestri, when Kaz was scrolling, there was a cover of X-Men, purple one. That's where I told Kaz stop scrolling because I wanted to say something. But
here's X.
About him like up on the cross, that made it into Deadpool Wolverine. That made it into the movie. That cover was so friggin' iconic. It was on cinemas everywhere. That's like having an impression. So talk about impressions. The next one I've got up here is Mr. Greg Capullo. Capullo, started off again. He did work in the 90s. He was the regular penciler on X-Force, not long after Rob Liefeld left the book that he created and founded. And Capullo did some stuff there. He's had long runs on Spawn. When they relaunched DC with the New 52, he was on Batman, and he was hot all over again. He is definitely one of the main players art-wise in the comic world today. And then the last one that I'm going to throw up here, does anybody know who that is?
That's not Greg Pak, is it?
It's not Greg Pak.
No idea.
That's Andy Park. Thanks, Dan. That's Andy Park. So Andy Park started off working in Rob Liefeld's studio. He did, work. I know he did like a cover with Vogue. He then was working under Silvestri's studio. He had a long run in late 99, early 2000s on Tomb Raider, the licensed book from the video game. Did a whole lot of other books that I don't even have time to mention now. But then he went and became basically the art director for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Mm-hmm. So any movie that you've seen from the MCU, he either created the look of the character or he was tangential to the look of that character creation. And we know how much of the MCU has impacted and influenced comics and the way that the characters now look in the comics. And Andy Park was the head of the visual development team until Marvel recently pretty much let that whole team go because now they have AI, which is not cool. But yeah, so Andy had a good 10 plus year run there. Incredible artist. I got to meet him online. Very nice guy. Did a pinup for my book, which was really, really cool. But I loved his art, and his painted work. And if you look at, go look on Amazon or wherever you want to for some of the MCU art books, the paintings that are in there are more likely than not from him. And so phenomenal artist and phenomenal impact on the industry. So that is my very fast version of the 2000 to 2019. So with
nicely
that
done.
Said, thank you. And thank you guys for bringing in all those great names. I was hoping that, there wouldn't be too much crossover from each year, each decade, but, there were good transitions and that was fantastic. Kaz, thank you for pulling up some of the visuals to go along with Javier's. That was fantastic. Kaz, can you pull up the Fund My Comic again? Do you still have that in a tab?
Yep.
If not, I could share it out. I got it.
Nope, I got it.
All right, cool. So everyone, please remember that we currently do have something going on with Fund My Comic. Just do a search, a ridiculously easy Google search for Fund My Comic and Silverline, and you will see we've got 27 days left to go. We are trying to recoup some of the monies that were lost during the Diamond Comic bankruptcy debacle. And we're a small company, and we're not the only ones that got hurt by this. We're not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. So many people were hurt. So many people lost funds. Some shops had to close down because of it. Luckily, we're not in that boat. But we know the way that the world is these days. It doesn't take much to get into that boat. Everybody's like one step away. So, anything that you might want, you want back issues, we got them. You want mystery packs, we got them. You want posters, we got them. You want some special editions, we got them. You want some commissions, we got them. You want a commission done by Rob Davis, the guy sitting right here, we got them. Original arts, sketch cover, t-shirt, we got it all. I feel like I'm like an auctioneer guy going like at a flea market or something. You know what? But that's okay. If it works, it works. You check out some of the original art pages. Look at what's sold out. We got
There's so much original art.
So you better
we had to put a link to Flickr.
Sold out. Yeah. So if you can, please go ahead and purchase something that you're going to love and pass down to future generations. If you can't right now, totally get that. Times are tough. Give us a like, give it a share, let people know. And people got birthdays coming up. We got Christmas in July coming up. We got whatever holiday you want to make up coming up, if it gives you an excuse to buy something. So with that being said, thank you guys
Christmas
for
gifts
joining today, and thank you everybody out there for watching, for listening. Please give us a like, please give us a subscribe. We will hope to see you back next week. And as always, what do we like to say as we close out our Wednesday Wham?
Make
Make my Silverline.
I'm Andy Smith. Make mine Silverline.